And we won't see the questions here, right?
No, I will see the questions. I'll ask.
Okay. And whether if I'm not audible, just let me know and I will try to be a bit
Yeah.
louder.
No, we are live now, and I think for now you are very audible. So, and I think we have an audience. So, hello everyone, and welcome to today's Saas from Scratch. Sorry, Saas from Scratch session. I'm Vani Kola from Kalari Capital, and I'm truly excited to host Ashutosh Garg today. And thank you for joining everyone. Ashutosh is an extraordinary founder. I know that when I started my startup, I had this dream of building a unicorn. But after doing one, I knew how hard it was, and I don't think I dare to attempt again. But Ashutosh, after leaving Google, he built not one but two unicorns. And his current company, Eightfold AI, has really seen rapid scaling in a very short time. So we are going to dive into how Ashutosh made this happen and learn from his insights and key strategies. So jumping right in, Ashutosh, I always like to understand origin of entrepreneurship. Growing up, I never knew what entrepreneurship was, but I happened to become one by destiny or whatever, good luck or whatever it is. But did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or when did that dawn? And, what was the path to discovery of that? Did you have any reservations at all in, leaving Google, where I'm sure you were very well paid, and, jumping into your first startup, which, if I'm not wrong, was Bloomreach? And did you have any self doubts at all? And who encouraged you along the path?
First of all, Wani, really appreciate you inviting me today to be on this show. Super thankful for that. Really excited to share my insights, my learnings, my experiences with you all. So thank you for that. And I think coming back to your question, I think there are a lot of parts over there. I I still don't know whether I'm an entrepreneur or not. Or what I always knew is that I love problem solving. Give me a problem and I get excited. Let me spend time mulling over it, solving it, figuring it out. How do we make progress, right? Uh, I think that was a genesis, like whether it was doing my PhD, doing my undergraduate work, wherever I was, right? Give me a problem I would love to solve. And I think that was a foundation of entrepreneurship. Second thing is you mentioned, did I have self doubts? I always have self doubts, always. So it's more around optimism and paranoia getting combined over there. Stay optimistic. So I'm a highly optimistic person. You give me a problem, I'm like, how can I solve it versus how can I freak about it, right? But at the same time, always pessimist that what can go wrong, what can break, and always trying to patch that up. And I think that has what made things work for me. Third is, was I worried about when I was leaving Google? It's more about I always only look forward. I don't worry about past, what has happened. So, which makes it easy for me that, okay, the day I left Google, I've left Google. I no longer worry about that, what was there or not there, right? And I feel like we have one life. There's only few things that we can do in our life, right? And I can be part of this big machine at Google, or I can do something new, something creative, right? And so that has what led me to start on this entrepreneurship journey.
It's good to hear that successful people like you also sometimes have self doubts, and it normalizes the process for everyone. And glad to hear that in some ways, because we all love company, and it makes our life not so strange, right?
Yep.
You have talked about outsider mindset, right? Now, there are two schools of thought that entrepreneurs should attempt something where they have deep domain experience, whereas, of course, in your case, you've done things that were relatively new. And sometimes entrepreneurs see things differently in a domain that perhaps someone who's steeped into it might or might not really observe and value, right? So, how should, of course, it isn't possible that every entrepreneur who succeeds outside their domain either. So, what is that process to have the outsider mindset, but still be able to grapple that problem with a unique insight that makes you successful in producing that innovation or product or business model or whatever it is that's new?
Great question, right? And this is particularly applicable to me when I was starting Eightfold. Like in 2016, when we started Eightfold, I had no idea about HR tech. I had no idea about what tools, technologies exist in the HR tech world. So in my case, that was a true outsider mindset coming in over there. But and then you are also right that not outsider mindset is not always the right thing, and it's just a function of the market and space you are going into or getting into. If it is a market which is already thriving, growing fast, evolving extremely fast, in that world, having insiders mindset is super helpful because you know what are the certain challenges, what are the problems where you are uniquely positioned to solve. But sometimes there are markets or spaces which have been stagnated for a long time. And why does that happen? Because people just get too much into the rut of not thinking, bringing a fresh perspective. And I will give you a very simple example, right? In our case, when I started, I never even thought about like talent acquisition and talent management should be two different concepts. For me, whether you're trying to hire people or retain the people, it's really the same problem. 8 years in, I now know that was an outsider's mindset. At that time, that just was very, very natural. But whether you start with an outsider's mindset or insider's mindset, if you just stay over there, you're going to fail miserably. If you have an outsider's mindset, accept it that you're an outsider, you don't know much about it. And then you spend every hour, every minute learning about that space while bringing in the fresh perspective. So what I did in my case was surrounded myself with the advisors, the people in the industry. Like every sales call, I would go in myself to see what's happening, what questions, comments, concerns are coming from the buyer, what is working, what is not working, and constantly refine it. So especially when you are an outsider, acknowledge that you are an outsider, accept it, but and then try to learn a lot about that while bringing in the fresh perspective. And if you do both, I think that is when the success comes.
So, Nikhil has a question around in the early stages, though, of your company, right? Eightfold. How did you know that your product was a no-brainer?
Just talk to the people all the time. Like you have vibe. Ultimately, anytime you're building a product or a company, right, you need to have a clear understanding of who is going to be the buyer, or at least a hypothesis around it, right? And some people say that, don't share your idea. What if someone else copies it? Unlikely it will be an overnight success. Unlike in a month, company will be super successful and then everything is taken care of. No, it's going to take years for it to get mature, right? And if that is the case, 5 people knowing about it a month early in advance won't make a difference. So first part is a discovery process around who is the buyer. So what I did was called every CHRO that I could get hold of, every VP talent, every HR business partner, every sourcer, probably like 50 people. And here is my idea. And you have a very well-defined, detailed idea, but it's still just an idea. And what you are doing is constantly gauging their interest. Are they genuinely excited about that? How many people sleep over it and next day give you a call that, Ashu, the idea that you talked about yesterday was really exciting. When can I participate in that beta program, alpha program, right? So and now there is a big difference over there as a technologist or as a business person. I'm a technologist at heart. When I'm pitching or sharing an idea, I know what is doable, what I can implement or not implement, and evaluating based on that. Now, in that case, I knew that whatever I'm pitching, I can build. So if someone is excited to buy, participate, I know there's something meaningful going on over here. Now, if it is 2 out of 50 people, it's still interesting, but the market is going to be small. If it is 40 out of 50 people, you know that you have a good market. large market, enough people are interested, even though 20 of them may not buy it on day one, they will come over time. So constantly go through this evaluation cycle to see whether your idea has worked or not.
You said something which I just want to re-emphasize because I so agree with you. There's always a fear, what if somebody steals my idea? And that sometimes can put you in a sort of fog. And I'm glad you sort of called that out, that if that's all there is to your company and to your vision, then perhaps you should rethink whether it's worth pursuing. So I appreciate you sharing that perspective. I didn't want that to get lost in the uh, in the overall dialogue. Now, Anna has a question for you. What was your competitive edge? Would you add anything to your prior answer? You kind of answered that, but would you add anything else?
I think in this case, let's take Eightfold as an example, right? Bloomreach was a simpler example because I knew search in and out, and the company was started around search, right? At Eightfold, what was my competitive advantage? One was being able to identify a problem that was very, very unique and not addressed, which is finding talent for enterprises is hard, but no one was addressing it. Second thing is, last 20 years prior to Bloomreach, my entire life was around modeling people to predict what they are going to do next. For example, so it was all about personalization and recommendation. So I'm like, okay, we have been doing this, this machine learning AI to predict which video you are going to watch next, which news article you're going to read next, which search query you're going to make next, right? If I can do that, why can't we try to understand what skills people can acquire next? What kind of jobs they are going to be successful in next? So that was a key insight, that if you were to approach that as a prediction problem, that what someone can do next, one, I have a unique expertise in that. I built all these personalization systems across the globe. But second thing is, when you, especially in the talent space, when you think of demand and supply gap, what talent is there? What is the demand of that talent, right? And if there's a gap, that is when you have a business, right? Now, what's the simplest way to solve for that? Instead of just limiting yourself to look for people who have done the work, if you can look for people who can do the work, suddenly the matching set becomes much, much larger. So that was our unique advantage as well.
So, Ashutosh, going back to the outsider mindset, right? Now, do you have a recipe methodology for how you then go about picking a problem on which you don't know a lot and solve that as a technologist? And really, the question is, how can other founders, right, uh, approach finding an area that they can dive deep into? And sometimes you're deep in, you don't know when to withdraw. So what is a framework that you have done this twice now very successfully? So what are some of the takeaways?
I think I can approach this as an outsider mindset. I can approach this as just an entrepreneurship, right? How do you know the problem that you're working on is the right problem to work on? And like, I meet so many founders on a daily basis almost, right? And they're riffing their ideas. There are two things that I struggle with them, right? In general, when it's not working out. One is they are going after a very small market, a niche idea. Yes, I can solve it for a certain set, but is that a large enough market? The hardest thing to fight in a startup is the market. If the market is small, unlikely you will succeed. Second is they are not listening to the market. When you go and pitch your idea to someone, you have to pay attention to their body language. Are they really getting excited? And the simplest way for you to see whether they're getting excited is, let's say, I'm pitching to you, Wani, right? I come to you with an idea. This is what I'm planning to do. And you're like, okay, Kashu, tell me more, right? Okay, how will you solve this problem? How will you solve that problem? And in the end, you're like, very good idea. Thank you. I'll get back to you. Now, I may, as an entrepreneur, go back and say that, wow, Wani was super excited. She asked a lot of questions. She said it's a good idea. Excellent. But frankly, Wani didn't contribute anything to the idea in that case. On the other hand, I come to you with an idea, and I'm like, Wani, this is what I'm planning to do. Within 5 minutes, you're like, Ashu, can we now do this as well over here? Can I actually apply in this domain also? Can I further expand it like this? Can I see it in this ecosystem? If you yourself are able to conceptualize that idea and expand on it, that is a very different level of excitement I am seeing from your questioning, right? And that is what I look for. One is how big my idea is, how market is reacting to it, what are their concerns coming. So second thing, anytime someone comes and says that, like, I'm pitching my idea, or even today when I go and selling Eightfold to a customer, and customer is like, I have this concern. Well, while on the spot, I might try to explain it to them, justify it, try to make a sell. I will for sure come back and rethink why their concern came about. Was it about my pitch? Or was it a flaw in my idea or product? And I need to work on it, right? So I always see this as a journey where you're constantly refining, improving. And the day you stop doing that, I think you are going to stagnate. Someone is going to come and catch up with you. But otherwise, every day you have to keep on improving the idea, your business model, the way you're approaching the market, your marketing messaging, branding, everything.
So, Ashutosh, can we dialogue on this a little bit more? Because there is a conundrum to this question of opportunity, right? Size of opportunity. So let me frame the conundrum. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. We know more than enough stories. AT&T didn't think cell phones would be a big market. Kodak didn't think digital cameras would be a big market. Who knew Facebook would be so big, founded in a college campus, or so on and so forth, right? So there are many such uh, anybody who invented the computer, Xerox, IBM, didn't think it would be this big of a market, right? Now, the other side of it, just an hour earlier, I had a founder pitching to me saying he's working on a 400 billion market, right? This is a seed stage company. I said, well, you're not really working on a 400 billion market. So let's focus on who's your customer. What can you do the next 2 years, right? So there is this conundrum because founders sometimes think, and for me, I can tell you it's a big turnoff when people come and tell me that they have a 400 billion market because they don't. That means they don't know who their customer is today, right? So how should founders think about this conundrum,
Well, first of all, there's a good reason why 99% of the startups don't go anywhere. And some of that is tied to exactly what you said over here. And I mean, I don't think I have a great answer, but I'll just give you some ways to think about it, right? One is, if it is a clear, obvious large market, which is worth $50 billion today, there will be one of these large companies, whether it's Salesforce, ServiceNow, or Google or Microsoft, who would be working on it. As a founder, you have an insight that there is a market over here that other people are ignoring. So that's one. The second thing is, I think even today, if someone were to say that why is Apple so large, or how big is AT&T's market or cell phone and other things, right? We will sit here and question that, is the market really worth $3 trillion company or not? I don't know. But that's not the point. And on day one, that is not what I'm building either. Key thing is that so yes, a founder may say that, and I might come in and say that, okay, I have a $1 trillion market. But what is the true serviceable, addressable market based on the current version of the product that I'm building with the current set of buyers that I'm going after? And is that meaningful or not? And I think, so the way I look at it is, like, if you were to ask me, Ashu, what is your time today? The answer will be, one, if I were to just look at what is our price point, who we are selling to, how many such companies exist in the market, is it a $5 to $10 billion market or not? And this is where founders mistake. Actually, $5 billion is a massively large market. It's okay. I mean, don't be ashamed of that. I mean, it's a phenomenally exciting market. But Is there an opportunity for that market to increase over time? If not, then also it's not great. But for even 2 to 5 billion is a great market to start with. But then is there a path for it to grow over time? And can you expand over there? And I think if you start thinking from that angle, what is my starting point is, and maybe some people, the term they use is serviceable addressable market. But okay, so here's another interesting thing, Vani, right? Many founders I meet, their thing is, if I could raise $5 million, I will be all set.
Yeah.
The most important thing is their own time. You are in your prime. If you're spending next 8 years building a startup, that is a most valuable commodity, your own time. Are you certain in your gut that this is the right market, this is a large market? And more often than not, you know the answer, but you're just ignoring it. So the market has to be there, it has to be crisp, right? It doesn't have to be $100 billion market on day one, but it better be at least few $1 billion market. So
yeah, no, that's great. Dot AI. So everything is AI today. There are several questions on it. So just can we talk about role of AI as you see it, not just in your maybe product space, but overall? And we'll get that question out of the way because today everybody has that question. So let's talk about your views on that, and then we can move on to here and now things.
So I will show my age by saying that 25 years back, when I was doing my PhD, AI was not considered to be a hot topic. In fact, when I got my admit at Illinois, and my advisor was in machine learning, computer vision space, I wanted to run away. I was like, I don't want to be doing AI and machine learning. What is this thing? And here we are as one of the hottest technologies ever invented, right? I think there are two parts to it when we think of AI. One is the work that has been going on across machine learning, artificial intelligence, statistics for last 100 plus years, 50 plus years, right? And the second thing is the large language models, generative models that have just come up over the last few years. AI is here to stay. It is fundamentally changing everything that we do. Whether it is as simple as adjusting the thermostat in your home so the temperature is well maintained, to a self-driving car, to something that can write an email on your behalf, and a lot more. So at this point, I would say, but as you're thinking about building a company in the AI space, the way I would look at it is, one, based on the way technology is today, what it can do today, do you have a real product that you can sell and build a business around it? Don't count on too much innovation over here on one side. Because here and now, is it going to work for you or not, right? And is it going to solve a real problem? At the same time, things are getting better. Things are getting automated aggressively. And as and when that happens, are you still going to stay relevant or not? So that's how I would look at it, right? Everything that we know today is going to change over the next 3 to 5 years. The only reason why it may not change as fast or not is the human inertia, humans' own resistance to change. But technology is already on this path of aggressive change, right? That exponential curve.
So here is a completely left field question. I'll throw it at you. It says, Ashutosh, can you let us know about how accurate the predictions are about many talents being able to perform as predicted? And how do you deal with inherent and existing biases?
That is the foundation of Eightfold, to be able to predict that. And second is to do it in a way so as to manage the biases. First, we have a very comprehensive framework around measuring biases and making sure that everything that we are doing is actually reduces the bias and make sure that your own biases are not creeping into the algorithms, right? And so there are a lot of algorithms, like we have invented equal employment opportunity algorithms. Second thing, what we have done is we have the right measurements going on over there so that we track every action an algorithm is taking and we expose it. Third is we don't decide anything. We are only a data provider at the heart of it, and recruiters still take a decision. So that is how we have solved the problem in the HR space. Second is we build these models and evaluate it. Right now, the accuracy of the models is north of 90% to predict how likely someone is going to go through the interview process and get an offer. Additionally, there's this whole concept of criteria validation where we look at the requirements of the job, the matching, and see how what system is doing is correlated to on-job performance. And we have a blog article which already talks a lot about that, showing that the systems that Eightfold is building in the AI algorithm and the matching algorithm are highly correlated to on-job performance.
But aren't biases something that we need to, that are inherent and continuously need to be a learning model? Because that's what many of the AI experiments have shown, right? Because AI can only represent the biases that we feed into it. And first, you have to recognize something as a bias, right? And outside of Eightfold, even this as a conversation, how do we ensure that we don't magnify the biases, right? And make them into actual realities, because they can be amplified in sort of the virality of platforms that we have today.
So it starts by first understanding what is a bias in the first place and what might lead to some biases creeping in, right? And today, if you on the legal side, right, we consider biases as based on gender, race, age, ethnicity, any other demographics of this person. So what you do is when you build these models, you make sure that you validate them on each of these axes separately. In fact, New York State has passed a law where the metrics that you're coming up with around the matching side, right? You have to validate for each part of the data for man versus woman, yeah, Asian male versus Asian females, like each of those segments. And we look at is the model's performance similar for both sets of the population or not. And that ensures that your model is not learning, which is something that is specific about a certain class or a group of individual. Otherwise, the bias will creep in. So I think that is at the outcome level. You measure it and ensure that there is no bias over there, or no statistically significant difference in that. And if you come to our website, you will see that we have all kind of model documentation and that bias analysis that you can read about it, right? But on the starting point, right, at Eightfold, one thing that we're very focused on from day one is working on global data sets. If I just look at the data of one company, one group, one locality, I will have a lot more bias. So what we do is from day one, we have collected the data across the globe, across the industries, to ensure that we are learning from the behavior of pretty much everyone out there. So it's not that one category in one country is getting trumping everything else, right? Second is when we collect this data, we further have a mechanism to reduce any indicator of race, age, gender, ethnicity from the profile. So that now we no longer know what is the gender of this person. All largely we have built this skills-based framework. Let's look at the skills of a person. Let's look at their career trajectory, and based on that, see how likely they are going to be a good fit for a certain job. Then when you're training these algorithms, certain groups may have a small amount of data, some other groups may have large amounts of data. So you have to have the right balancing going on so that you're not biasing your models in one direction or the other. And then finally, the outcomes that I talked about.
So, Ashutosh, since we are on this topic, let's talk about skills um, or potential versus pedigree. This is always another sort of conversation, pedigree or potential.
Yes.
How do you approach that in building your team, and what advice do you have for others who are hiring?
I think there's I feel like this is a false dichotomy that we create. We say it is a skill based or pedigree based or, all those things, right? What is a pedigree as well? One way to think about it is that, okay, you went to Stanford or you went to IIT, so you have to be this good. Or more importantly, if you didn't go to IIT, you're not good. The moment you start thinking like that, you have created a bias, big time. Yeah. The key thing is what are the skills required for the job, and what is the skill in the first place. When you say skill, do I really just mean do you know Java or not? Do you know public speaking or not? But as an entrepreneur, right, the requirements on the job are constantly going to change. I have to constantly adapt myself. I have to be able to work under pressure. I have to juggle through multiple things on the same day. Those are skills as well. And what indications you have for those skills? Is this person going to work well under pressure or not? And do I have signs? Have they done work in the past that reflects that? Maybe IIT entrance examination reflects that you are comfortable working under pressure. Maybe you didn't get to IIT, but in your next job, you have demonstrated that you can work extremely well under pressure, and that's fine. Key thing is that look for those skills that are relevant for that specific job. And think about that holistically, not just the hard skills, but the soft skills, the skills that are around learnability, the skills that are around working under pressure. And once you start thinking like that, then this concept of pedigree no longer matters. What matters is to get the right skills for the job. And that is how we approach it. Right?
So I have a question around product market fit. See, I come from a school of thought that it's best to stay small and frugal till you have product market fit. And once you have that and the team, that's when you start scaling. And that's how we have built our thesis at Kalari. So we like to start small, and once the teams demonstrate product and team, then we truly double down to help in the process of scaling. Now, there are many ways to do this, but a lot of founders have questions around this. When should I really invest into market growth? If it takes too long, that product and market discovery, maybe I won't be valued. There's lots of things, as you know, that happens in founders' mindset. So, how to navigate this journey of product market fit and then the scaling of the market?
I feel like a little bit, and especially one as an investor, right? I'm sure you have a very strong perspective on this, and you have seen a lot more than what I've seen, right? So with all that caveat, I don't think there's one size fits all answer over here. You have to look at what is the problem you're solving, and what is the resource requirement for that. What is your thesis? Just saying that, like, whether you have a lot of money, you raise $50 million or $5 million or $1 million, that's not the point. What is the right investment needed on day one to solve a problem? If it is too little, then you may not succeed. If it's too much, you may get distracted or you may build too much stuff, right? So one very simple example is when someone comes to me and says that, Ashu, that version of let's say I'm not building a new product, even today at Eightfold. They're like, why didn't you think about this deep analytics over there? Or why have you not built this interface? Or why you have not built this robust pipeline? And I'm like, I don't know whether this is going to work or not. And if not, it's not going to work. Why should I invest in all those things right now? Every functionality that you're building on the product on day one, is it really must have to sell that product? If not, don't build it. Don't invest on it. If you just on day one put a 50% team, you're going to be distracted. You're just going to spend all your time managing those people versus building the product. In most cases, start small. See what is the bare minimum that you need to build, MVP, which is going to catch someone's fancy and someone is going to pay for it. Cut corners in every place where you can without compromising the product. For example, what you can never compromise on the security aspect of it. The data cannot be. Those are the non-negotiables, right? Many other things like, should I build a fancy UI? No, not on day one. You can come next day and build that. That is not required on day one, right? So have a clear understanding of what is that going to be the differentiator of my product, what is the bare minimum I need to build, and work backwards from there and see what is the bare minimum investment I need to make that happen. Now, flip side of this is, I always say, if you can raise more capital, raise more capital. But that doesn't mean you burn more capital. It just gives you more time to experiment. If something doesn't go the first time, you can fix it. And third is, which you mentioned, right? Is it going to take a long time? Well, if it is taking long, genuinely ask the question, are you on the right track? Or are you just getting lost and meandering? And you might still find a way, but like in a venture business, we don't have that much time. Time is our biggest enemy. We have to move fast, right? So if you're not able to figure out a product market fit in a year, 18 months, I will really question, are you on the right track?
You talked about founders needing multidimensional skills, and they need to be good at many things, and they have to, in fact, continuously upskill themselves, upgrade their skills. And you also talked about going to customers, going to sales, and understanding what the customer is saying. So, how important is sales as a skill for founder, and what to do if you are a founder that don't want to be in front of the customer?
Don't do a company.
As simple as that, huh?
Seriously, everything is selling. Everything is selling. Whether you're talking to your 7-year-old child, which is what I have, to your spouse, to your parents, to your teacher, to this, everything is selling. You're constantly selling. But what is selling, right? It's being able to communicate your ideas crisply, be able to understand what someone is looking for, what you're communicating, is that going to solve their problem or not? That inquisitiveness to see what will work with them, I think is extremely important. And the moment you say that I'm not comfortable going in front of a customer, no, I will never invest in that, to be, as simple as that, right? But I think there are aspects, right? Are you a person who is constantly going to build pipeline for the rest of their life? Are you just constantly going to negotiate the contract? Over time, you will hire people for that. But you need to be comfortable banging on a random door and saying that, are you interested in buying my product? Yes, let's say I'm doing my third startup today. I will be back on the street selling. I will knock on every door. It no longer matters what you have done in the past, right? The buyer doesn't care what you have done. The buyer only cares about it. What you're selling, is that relevant to them? And the most important learning you get is by looking in the buyer's eyes. Are they getting excited or not? What is their reaction? That is the only thing that will improve your product. So you have to be out there selling constantly.
So there's a seller in every one of us. We just have to unlock that genie and know that it's there and let go of that mind block as a founder.
We have to let go of our egos. We have to what comes in our way of selling is that, what if this person says something to me, right? Or this person doesn't know. I think one of the other things that I see a lot with technologists, right? Yeah, my buyer is not smart. Well, I don't know whether your buyer is smart or not. They know exactly what they need. And are you smart enough to be able to communicate in their language or not? Right? That is what matters over here. Not everyone needs to be AI genius, no? But they know what they need, right? And we need to be solving for that. So just shed all your inhibitions, all your ego, get into the buyer's mindset, try to understand what they are looking for, what will be relevant to them, what will be exciting to them, right? And based on the feedback, other thing I think, Wani, that I've seen so many times, we tend to ignore the buyer's feedback. They are always telling us what's the right thing to do, what is the right product they need, what is their problem. We don't have to look for the solution they're proposing. In fact, I would say don't focus on how they're proposing to solve the problem. Focus on what is their fundamental problem they're trying to solve. We are the innovators, they are the buyers, they are the users, right? And that synergy has to be there.
Yeah, they are the ones who have to pay. So that's where the paycheck is coming from. So, Ashutosh, as a founder and a CEO, as the company goes from 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100, right? And beyond, uh, to navigate this successfully in terms of evolving the team, talk to us about challenges and again how you approach that in decision making. When do you
And
grow
which
people from inside? When do
I,
bring people from outside?
I say founders' number one job is hiring, building the talent. Everything else is, I mean, of course, on day one you're selling, but outside that, right, your number one job is having the right people and making sure that you're developing those people right. And where it becomes a challenge is that every day the role is evolving, especially at the top. First, when we started Eightfold, my job was to manage a team of 2 people, then a team of 10 people, then a team of 50 people, then a team of 100 people, now a team of 700 people, right? I am constantly stretched beyond what I have ever done in my life. And that also applies to my direct reports, right? Their job is constantly expanding. Now, one way in which I have balanced that is either you bring people in who may not have done it, but have demonstrated massive potential to grow with you. Second is you bring some people in who have done it already at a scale, but are comfortable going back to the grassroots and starting again. But irrespective of whoever you bring in, your startup, your company, your environment is unique. No two companies are the same. And for your environment, you are constantly evaluating, is this person the right fit for next 4 years, next 2 years, next 2 months? So, like if I look at my team, who are the people I feel comfortable that they are going to be here with me for next 4 or 5 years? Not because they're good people or not, but because if the company were to scale the path it is on and the way their role evolves, right? Are they going to be a good fit for that role? And if yes, excellent. I don't have to worry about over here. If someone is only going to be here for 2 years, then I have to see whether there's a chance that I can develop this person so that they can continue to be with me for next 4 or 5 years and then put them on that path. And if I feel like someone is unlikely to develop and grow with me, then I have to start looking for their successor. But that has to be very, very clear. And you have to be constantly making that call for each person in the team, including yourself, actually. Are you going to scale? And if you're not scaling, understand why you're not scaling, where you are scrambling, and who can help you grow.
Transitions are hard when you have people that you really like and they are not scaling. How do you handle that?
Actually, more often than not, those people also know that they are not scaling. And few things, right? First, it is about business. Like I have some people, they will interview and come back and say that he or she was a great person. I'm like, yes, but are they a good fit for the job? If not, I mean, these are two different things, right? So where we struggle with is, I have this great person, I have a very good relationship. Now that we have been working together for the last 3 years, they're good personal friends, right? How can I let them go? Well, are you doing the right thing by them and yourself by not letting them go? Actually, you're not. You might keep them for 6 months, 1 year, but they're going to be unhappy, miserable because they are not able to scale. Their team is going to be miserable. Your company is going to suffer because of that, and you are going to suffer because of that. And that kind of conversation can be very candid. You can be like, this is what I really need you to do to get to the next level. I'm going to work with you to help you. But otherwise, let's find your successor. Let's work on it together. And maybe one day we'll work back again together. Maybe you can take another role in my company. Maybe I will help you connect outside, right? But first and foremost, is that the person going to be the right person for your company to grow with you over time or not? So put your emotions aside, really think objectively over there, and then work with that individual. Like, I have made a lot of leadership changes over the years. Almost always those leadership changes have been by working with those people. That I'm going to make this change. Are you comfortable I'm making this change? Or this is what I need you to demonstrate. Are you? Let's see if you can do it over next 2-3 years. If not, we have to make a change, right? So be transparent. I mean, all these people are senior execs, right? They're mature people. They know what is right for the company. In fact, they have a lot of equity in the company. It's in their personal interest that they have the right. You have the right leadership in the company.
So, Ashutosh, I know we are a little bit out of time, and this has been a great conversation. I think there are so many insights here that it's worth for people to go back, listen, and actually rewind and listen, because there are so many gems and nuggets here that I really wish we had a way to encapsulate them and make them into capsules that you could all swallow. But I want to spend just a couple of minutes getting to know you a bit personally. So, obviously, we are having you do this early in the morning so that it's the right time for us here in India. But are you a morning person or a night owl?
I'm a morning person.
With a 7-year-old, I guess you have no choice almost. Right? So you live in California, so long hike or hit the gym?
Long hike.
Yeah, Rancho San Antonio, very close to you. Good hike.
Right.
Mm. And your favorite AI tool?
I think it depends on the problem that I'm solving.
But pick a problem, pick a tool. What have you really loved so far?
Right now, I'm spending a lot of time with these large language models and the planners and how they can automate the task.
So going from now to past, what was the first gadget that you owned with pride?
Well, in
Mine was a
19,
HMT watch, so I'll tell you that. So I date myself.
well, I don't know whether this was a favorite gadget or the first gadget, but what was very interesting is I think in 2006, I was so excited to get BlackBerry. I made a request to my manager, can I please get an approval at Google to get a BlackBerry? And eventually I got a BlackBerry. And 2 weeks later, I was like, I don't want this gadget. This is useless. It doesn't work for me. So, but now that is all a past.
I took a long time to switch from my BlackBerry to iPhone. I really had withdrawal letting go of my BlackBerry. I loved it so much, but but that's another story for another day. How you can be blind to innovation and technology sweeping by. So, are you a chai or coffee to kickstart your day? Maybe neither.
Well, my wife has assigned the duty of, she has decided that she's never going to learn how to make a chai. And I have to make chai in the morning. So
So
yes, I start my
Starbucks
day
it
with
is. So spend your money on Starbucks, right? So, um, and so Ashutosh, just one last, any advice for so many uh, founders and would-be entrepreneurs in this audience?
I think it's a fascinating journey. It's a privilege to be an entrepreneur, and think of this as a privilege, not a right. Keep learning. Never assume that you know everything. Always start with an open mind, open ears. Seek advice everywhere. Look for opportunity, and things will happen.
This is gold, Ashutosh, and I really appreciate you taking your morning for us, and very, very invaluable. And I'm very grateful that you were willing to give us this time and insight so freely and so openly.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Vani.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.